Welcome to another edition of Don Hammond's Arlington Weekly News. We have another unusual lineup this week. Lots of news, a little community bulletin board, some 55-plus news. There's another follow-up to Signs of the Times, and a special note at the end. That's the show. As for social media, you can watch us on YouTube at Arlington Weekly News and the number 1. Also on Facebook, and you can listen to us on the radio at WERA 96.7 FM. Now on to the news. As of Sunday evening, June 21st, reports show the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in Arlington had exceeded 2,400. This figure just took on added significance with the release of data by the Virginia State Health Department showing that at least 73% of the coronavirus deaths in Arlington have occurred in long-term care facilities. The reported combined death count was 92. As of Friday, June 19th, the available figures by individual facility were Brookdale Assisted Living, 49 cases, 10 deaths. Cherrydale Health and Rehabilitation Center, 143 cases, 28 deaths. Manor Care Health Services, 87 cases, 15 deaths. Regency Care of Arlington, 137 cases, 30 deaths. Sunrise at Bluemont Park reported 14 cases. Sunrise of Arlington reported 21 cases. The Jefferson, 38 cases, 9 deaths. The number of deaths for the Sunrise facilities were not reported or included in the totals, so the actual death count was probably higher. Virginia Governor Ralph Northam announced some guidance for Phase 3 of the Forward Virginia Plan for easing public health restrictions. He noted that, while we may not have the same spike of infections that many states are seeing right now, Virginians need to remain cautious and do the things that we know reduce transmission. Wear a face covering, maintain physical distance, and stay home if you are high risk or experience COVID-19 symptoms. This virus is still with us, and we must continue to adapt our lives around it and ensure that we are keeping our vulnerable communities safe. In Phase 3, the Commonwealth will maintain a safer-at-home strategy with continued recommendations for social distancing and teleworking, and the requirement that individuals wear face coverings in indoor public settings. The maximum number of individuals allowed in social gatherings will increase from 50 to 250 people. All businesses should continue to follow physical distancing guidelines, frequently clean and sanitize high-contact surfaces, and keep enhanced workplace safety measures in place. Restaurant and beverage establishments are required to maintain 6 feet of distance between tables. Fitness centers may open indoor areas at 75% occupancy, and recreation and entertainment venues may operate at 50% occupancy or a maximum of 1,000 persons. Swimming pools may also expand operations to free swim in addition to indoor and outdoor exercise, diving, and swim instruction. Overnight summer camps will remain closed in Phase 3. Arlington County has announced 394 businesses that have been selected to receive the Small Business Emergency Grant, that is short for Giving Resiliency Assets Near Term. The grant program was set up to provide financial assistance to Arlington's small businesses impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. The intended use of funds is to provide near-term relief for businesses and nonprofits, some of whom have experienced delays or limitations with federal relief initiatives. Businesses and nonprofits considered for the grant program were required to be located in Arlington County, have fewer than 50 employees, and demonstrate revenue losses of 35% or more as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Sadly, Arlington Independent Media was not on the list of recipients. Next, on Friday, June 12th, an outbreak of COVID-19 in the clerk's office of the Arlington County Juvenile and Domestic Relations Court forced the court to close the office to the public. 4 of the 7 clerks in the office have reportedly tested positive for COVID-19. The Arlington Bar Association issued a statement Friday afternoon that said clerks play a vital role in the courthouse and are, on a day-to-day basis, at elevated risk as the centrality of their role in the judicial process presents a variety of exposures both in and out of the courtroom. That any member of our community faces an unnecessary or worse, an unknown risk to their health or the health of their families is not a risk we are prepared to accept. On Friday, June 19th, Arlington County workers were ordered to power wash away some Black Lives Matter chalk art in front of a home in the Boulevard Manor neighborhood. Arl Now became aware of the occurrence after a neighbor posted on social media about the removal of the chalk art. The art included words and phrases like, "There comes a time when silence is betrayal," "Justice for all," MLK, and BLM. A portion of the art was on the county-owned sidewalk and road, while the rest was in the home's driveway. The social media post read as follows: "I am both saddened and outraged. My friend and colleague at Ashlawn has had a formal complaint made about her daughter's chalk art on the driveway, sidewalk, and street in front of their home. I spoke with the Arlington County employees who did not want to remove the chalk but were told they must. I asked permission to post their photos." Speaking to Arl Now, Arlington County Board member Christian Dorsey offered an apology to the residents. This is his statement. "We await a full understanding of the facts, but what is known at the moment disturbs us greatly. It was a mistake to prioritize responding to this call during a pandemic where our workers should not be deployed unnecessarily. Furthermore, removal of the chalk art from a driveway apron, widely known to be the responsibility of the resident, was wrong. We apologize to the residents for erasing their expressions from their property and to our workers who were directed to do it. That this occurred as our county gathered to reflect on the unfulfilled promise of Black liberation on Juneteenth adds further insult and compels us to confront the role of our government in perpetuating systemic inequities. We can, must, and will do better." That concludes the reporting that came from Arl Now, but not from Don Hammond's Arlington Weekly News. After the storm that hit the area around 2:15 that afternoon, I followed up by going to the site of the signage to see what was left after the rain. What I found was a gathering of more than 20 neighbors who had come out to show their support and were happily redrawing and adding new chalk messages. One of the new phrases read, "Content of your character," which neatly addressed both the original concept and the community's opinion of the person who had called in the complaint. Had the offended party simply refrained, the storm might have washed away the original writing, since chalk is an ephemeral medium. What happened instead was a gathering of neighbors who came by to show support and amplify the original message. Elsewhere, the Arlington Black Employees Council sponsored a Juneteenth peace rally on Friday, June 19th. The event was held from 11 o'clock a.m. to noon outside the front steps of the Bosman Government Center at 2100 Wilson Boulevard. The event, which observed the day that the legal end of slavery was finally announced in the last of the United States in 1865, included a tribute to George Floyd, recognitions of victims of violence, and a rousing performance by the praise team of the Macedonia Baptist Church. There was a speech and MC duties by Merrill White, president of the Black Employees Council. Other speakers included Gina E. Wood, Public Policy Chair for the Northern Virginia chapter of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, County Board Member Christian Dorsey, Andre Talley, Vice President of the Black Employees Council, County Employee and 2020 Black Excellence Award winner Sandra McNeil, Andre Talley's son, Jordan, who provided a song, Change Gonna Come, Julius D. Spain Sr., president of the Arlington branch of the NAACP number 7047. Then there was an audience participation segment that included Lim Porphyry, Chief of Staff in the County Manager's Office. It was a reading of a list of the names of some of the victims of police violence. Next to speak was County Manager Mark Schwartz, who read a text about the exhaustion of having to explain racism. Then came Gary Green, Construction Codes Manager for CPHD, who introduced some drummers who simulated the dying heartbeat of George Floyd. Other speakers included Deputy County Manager Tamia Bird, the Reverend Danielle Bridgeforth, the pastor of the Church at Clarendon, who rendered a closing prayer. The event concluded with another song by the Macedonia Praise Team about a soldier fighting for the Lord. Fruit and water were made available for attendees, and face coverings and social distancing were required. The event was well attended, skillfully presented, and orderly. Here is our report from last Friday's town hall, scheduled for June 19th. There wasn't one. No notice went out about the cancellation, so anyone logging in or tuning in was simply left to watch a rebroadcast of the previous night's listening session on racial justice, systemic racism, and policing. Because it was a listening session, viewers were given speaking opportunities that lasted longer than the texted-in questions associated with the town hall meetings. Between the sheer number of anecdotes, observations, opinions, and prepared statements, there was simply too much differing content to report here. It went on for hours. I call this next story Empty Tents, Empty Promises. At 2 p.m. on Friday, June 19th, I drove down to the Barcroft Fitness Center to report on the free COVID testing that had been promised for the hours of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. What I discovered was an open area containing a number of large, empty tents. There was no signage to indicate that there had ever been a testing site, or that testing had been completed for the day. I also encountered a couple of confused people who had arrived with the understanding that testing would be available until 4 p.m. For the second time, the site had closed over 3 hours early. According to an article in Arl Now, the available 1,000 sets of supplies had been exhausted as of 12:45 p.m. The description of this second event as a mass testing seems inappropriate. Mass disappointment might be more accurate. Arlington promised longer hours than it was able to deliver. It wound up like advertising a buy one, get one free deal when they only had one item to sell. Now here's a little bit of CBB, or Community Bulletin Board. For those who miss Denise Pringle's theater reviews, or even miss actual theater, there is at least a taste available courtesy of the Arlington Public Library. It's called Hamilton, the Man and the Musical, and it's a multimedia presentation by Dan Sherman. It draws on both Hamilton's actual biography and his depiction on stage. You'll learn about both Hamilton's historical achievements and the musical's history and accuracy. Yes, you'll even get to hear some of the songs. No advance registration is required. You can connect for video via Zoom at https://us.zoom.us/j/842-680-52749. And I will repeat that. us/zoom.us/j/842-680-52749. You can also hear the audio over the phone by calling 301-715-8592. For those of you who have missed our regular cast, we have a message from our co-anchor Daniel Pineda. Here's the message. Hello, Arlingtonians. I hope your families and you are safe during these challenging times. It has been about 3 months in quarantine already, and I certainly miss the Don Hammond's Arlington Weekly News family and all of our viewers. We are stronger together. Though these have been tough times, if we follow the protocols, we will get past this. I first want to thank Hef Munson and Miriam Gennari for their great work in holding down the fort until the situation gets better for us to do our regular news program. I want to also thank the viewers for their patience as well. These months have given me a new perspective on how crucial the small things in life are. Through these challenging times, I have learned many tools in life to be a better person. I have also learned how to cook as well, and keep healthy by walking 2.5 hours. I've enclosed a couple of videos and photos I wanted to share. I hope to share a video message with all of you soon. Please stay safe, Arlington, and we will talk soon, Arlington. That's the end of his message. Daniel also sent several images and a couple of short clips showing that he is still occasionally getting out and about and enjoying spending some time with his family. And there is also evidence that he's eating well. Now it's time for 55 Plus News. The Arlington 55 Plus Book Club is alive and well. Actually, that's more like online and well. Until further notice, the group will meet via Zoom. You can register via the library's website under Events. The book for the July 3rd meeting is Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates, and the meeting is scheduled to run from 12 noon to 1 o'clock p.m. Meanwhile, the 55 Plus group is working on scheduling week by week. That's all we have for now, except to continue to encourage safe behavior. Here's a brief update on the signs of the times. First, most of the window signs in Clarendon's Edgewood Shopping Center are visible again, All the boards have been taken down except the ones in front of the Apple Store, which have been painted. However, one paper sign was of particular interest. Its heading read, "Alternatives to Calling the Police," and it listed about 10 phone numbers for help and support services for those situations such as mental health problems, homelessness, or in-family abuse. It also encouraged communication and cooperation between neighbors. The opposing point of view appeared just below the title of the sign, where someone had used a Sharpie felt-tip pen to write, "Buy a gun, buy a gun." Thus, this one sign illustrated the polar extremes of opinion. Before closing, I would like to make an observation about a term that is appearing more and more in online comments and social media. The term is Karen, and it is used not as a person's name, but as a pejorative, an expression of contempt. I first encountered it in a posting apologizing if a remark sounded too Karen-y. An equivalent word might be Karen-like. So I consulted an online dictionary. The conventional definition was a member of an indigenous people of eastern Burma and western Thailand, or the language of the Karen, probably Sino-Tibetan. The context of the first posting and subsequent entries indicated that this was not the meaning being used, so I consulted dictionary.com for slang, which returned the following definition. Karen is a mocking term for an entitled, obnoxious, middle-aged, white woman. Especially as featured in memes, Karen is generally stereotyped as having a blonde bob haircut, asking to speak to retail managers to voice complaints or make demands, and being a nagging, often divorced mother from Generation X. That's the end of the definition. Below that entry, Dictionary.com had some italicized text. Want more of the stories behind the hottest slang? Sign up for, and then they put in a fire symbol, right in your inbox. What this reveals is the creation of a new discriminatory stereotype. Consider the components of the definition and example. Middle-aged, discrimination based on age. White, discrimination based on race. Woman, discrimination based on gender. Blonde, discrimination based on more specific ethnicity. Divorced, discrimination based on marital status. Mother, discrimination based on parenthood status. Consider also the emotional effect that this usage could have on a child born and named just prior to its popularization. However, the problem here is not the specific group categories being maligned, but the creation of yet another hurtfully intended stereotype. The spread of negative stereotypical naming lies on a continuum that extends to discrimination, rejection, and, when institutionalized, oppression. This can be demonstrated by substituting different values for the age, race, gender or sexual orientation, hair color or hair texture, and marital or parental status. It is one thing to criticize someone's behavior for being offensive, but quite another thing to attack them based on non-behavioral attributes over which they have little, if any, control. At a time when so many people are finally making serious attempts at healing divisions between members of different groups, the creation, adoption, and use of a new derogatory stereotype is a step in the opposite direction. It's time for this term, along with all the other examples of stereotype-based insults from history and all of those still in use, to be retired from our collective way of thinking. And that concludes this week's show. We will be back next week with more news from Arlington, along with some more on-the-ground observations. Meanwhile, be careful, be safe, and be well.